So here we go. We're going to kind of be thinking about a real life situation. And so we're going to try to figure out if the numbers that you're working with, one, what are they asking? Are they asking you to add, subtract, multiply, divide? Kind of try to interpret that, as well as figure out if you do have this remainder left over, sort of implying division, then what does that mean, right? If we're thinking about time or money or something else. So as we read this problem, we're going to try to kind of pull out some key features. So we know that this person named Warren spent 140 hours making 16 toy trucks for a craft fair. If he spent the same amount of time making each truck, we want to know how many hours did he spend making each truck. So in other words, he's dividing his time on the trucks equally, right? So we're going to end up dividing. So he spent a total of 140 hours on 16 trucks, right? You can also kind of convert this into a division problem. So 140, you're going to read from top to bottom. 140 divided by 16. Just like in a book, you read page from top to bottom, same in a division problem. So now I'm going to say, all right, how many times does 16 fit into 1? 0. How many times does 16 fit into 14? 0. Well, and how can I sort of estimate to get close? So I'm not super familiar with my 16 multiplication facts, but I do know that if I did 16 times 10, it would get me 160, which is a little too much. So I'm going to go ahead and try 9. So 16 times 9, if we sort of speed ahead, here we get 144. Well, do we have 144 hours? No, we only have 140. So it's going to be lower than that. So we'll go ahead and try 8. So if we kind of say, oof, 9 was too much, let's try 8. We have our problem sort of set up here. So as we multiply, we see that we get 128. And we do have the ability to have 128 work here because we have a total of 140 hours. So now we're going to subtract. We end up with 12 hours left over out of how many? Well, out of 16 toy trucks, right? So he spent 8 full hours and 12 out of 16 left over. So if we kind of reduce that, we can divide 12 and 16 by 4 to get us 3/4. So we end up with 8 3/4. But what does that mean if we sort of interpret the remainder? So we know 8 3/4 hours. Well, we need to sort of interpret time, right? Well, how many minutes are there in an hour? Well, we know that in 1 hour there are 60 minutes. Minutes in 1 hour. So if we use that to our advantage, we know Warren is spending 3/4 of 1 hour. So what's 3/4 of 60? Well, let's divide it into quarters. So what's 60 divided into 4 equal parts? I think about dividing it in half to get me 30 and dividing that in half again to get me 15-minute chunks. So we have 15, another 15, and another 15, and another, we'll go this way, another 15, which ends up getting us 15, 30, 45, 60, right? So here's our hour broken up into 4 equal parts. And Warren spent 3 of those on his toy truck. So he spent 15, 30, 45 minutes out of an hour, right? So he spent 8 full hours and 45 minutes on each of his toy trucks. You could write your answer up here or wherever makes sense, 8 hours and 45 minutes.